Our primary election is right around the corner, coming up on March 17th, and Chicago needs election judges. You can help your neighbors cast their votes by going to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov. You do have to be a U.S. citizen and a registered voter in Cook County, but you can earn $230 for your service. Plus, if you're bilingual in Spanish, Hindi, Polish, Korean, Chinese, or Tagalog, then they definitely need your help. To learn more and apply, head to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov or call 312-269-7984. If you're looking for a place to slide for spring break, maybe check out South by Southwest 2026 when it drops in Austin, Texas this March 12th through the 18th. You can expect the unexpected where innovation, film and TV, music, and culture collide. Plus, you'll hear from global thought leaders, experience unforgettable screenings, and maybe catch a future favorite artist all in 1 week. The 2026 South by Southwest conferences and festivals are a city-wide experience, and you lucky because our friends over at CityCast Austin have everything you need to maximize your time in the city. Start planning your adventure and unlock a 10% discount on your innovation badge when you use code CityCast10 at sxsw.com/Chicago. Discount on badge price only, not combinable, and terms apply. Today on CityCast Chicago, early voting for the March primary has officially begun. I've got locations where you can vote and important races to watch. Plus, Derrick Rose wants to get in on the ground floor of the new United Center development. We discuss the details. It's Friday, February 13th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. We got the Tribe's Tonia Hill in the building with us today. Tonia, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey there. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you. And I know you just coming off a birthday, so happy birthday to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
We've also got from Injustice Watch, Charles Preston in the building. Good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
If this is your first episode of the week, what are you doing? Go back and listen to our episodes throughout this week. We talked dating in Chicago. We've talked beef going down at O'Hare and so much more. And today we brought in our friends to look back on some of the biggest stories happening in and around the city. And we got to start with this. Thursday was the first day to cast an early ballot for next month's election. I want to remind folks, this is the first year people can use the brand new super site at Staten Adams. The former location at Clark and Lake is now the Real ID super site, so don't pull up expecting to walk into the booth. The other early voting spot is located at 69 West Washington. Early voting in Cook County at large begins next Wednesday, February 18th. Remember, starting March 2nd, you can vote at your early site in your individual ward, and you can vote during this early period at any polling place across the city, whether it's in your ward or not. But remember, on primary day, you is going to have to pull up to your designated polling place. So find out where that is now. Tonia, get in here. What races are you watching as we are nearly a month away from primary day?
I am looking at the congressional race in the 7th district.
That's my district.
Yeah, Congressman Danny Davis has held the seat for almost 30 years and announced his retirement a couple of months ago, actually. And as of now, there are 15 people that are trying to get the seat, and 13 of them being Democrat. And the majority of those Democratic candidates are Black. So we have probably another instance where the vote is going to be split.
The 7th Congressional District, as you point out in your reporting, stretches from parts of the South Side to the West Side, some of Chicago's western suburbs, including Oak Park, Maywood, Broadview, and the district is over 40% Black. So it's no surprise that the majority of the candidates are Black. What have been the talking points of this race? Because for the last 30 years, and especially the last few cycles, it's largely been Danny Davis saying, I still have the energy to run this district. I'm still the person who knows this district the best. I'm still out on the streets across the district. And a candidate running saying, we need new blood, new leadership. Well, now that is guaranteed. So I imagine that isn't landing the same way. So what's defining the way candidates talk about this district in this race?
I think what's really interesting is the changing of the district to include different neighborhoods, if that makes sense. When we had our redistricting a few years ago, So while the neighborhoods and the suburbs that you mentioned are still a part of it, the it's stretching far more into Fulton a little bit more. So as we've seen, there's been a lot of transformation in that area, a lot more real estate and things coming into that. And then also, I think what's really interesting, one of the candidates that has raised the most money in this district has raised almost $2 million. So that's a lot of money in this race. And I also think it's important for us to look at who is funding these candidates. Something else to consider. I've talked to some longtime West Side natives, and some of the things that they have told me and shared about like their priorities is about economic vitality. I really like that statement, just talking about opportunities for Black business owners, for quality schools, for having the health care and things that they need in order to thrive, essentially. Just thinking back to the riots there in the 60s, how much the West Side has still been intentionally neglected, and people are trying to turn the corner on that. And they want someone in Congress to recognize that, but also bring some fresh ideas to be able to overcome those longstanding challenges that the West Side has faced.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, when they find out what exists inside the 7th Congressional District, they're very shocked about how far that spectrum runs, right? From, like you said, parts of Inglewood and parts of Austin that have been historically divested from and sort of left to fend for themselves, to suburbs like Oak Park. Most of the museum campus and the Loop and the West Loop sit inside of the 7th District. The United Center sits inside the 7th District. And we're going to talk about the major development happening in and around that part of the city. And so, you've kind of profiled some of these individuals who are running, names like LaShawn Ford, Melissa Conyers Irving, Forest Park Mayor Rory Hoskins. You mentioned Jason Freeman, who's raised the most money. But then there are folks that people may know from other roles, like organizer Keena Collins, SEIU Executive Director Anthony Driver Jr. I mean, with 13 plus candidates, is anybody pulling ahead right now? Do you have a sense of who's in the lead here? Again, Melissa Conyers Irving has finished second to Davis in the past. Keena Collins has finished second in the past. LaShawn Ford currently has his endorsement. How is this shaking out right now when you talk to people?
I feel like it's still too early to tell. I think one of the unfortunate parts about having this many candidates, at least for me, I did go to one of the candidate forums a few weeks ago at Collins High School, and it's really hard, I feel, as a voter, to really get a sense of who each of these candidates are because there's so many. I think the West Side NAACP did a great job with, I think at most maybe there were 3 questions that were asked, and all, the candidates that were there were able to answer them, but it was only, 2-minute sound bites at most. So I think it's
you look up and it's been an hour.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And we still have more questions to get through. So I do think it's too early to tell, but I think in terms of fundraising, I think that is what has become more of a conversation about this district, about Jason Friedman, having raising almost $2 million, and the people that have been funding a lot of the contributions to his campaign are tied to AIPAC or other pro-Israel groups. And I just saw yesterday that Melissa Conyers Irving has also been seeing kind of more dollars be poured into her campaign with ads from a group that is also tied to AIPAC. But yeah, I think that is what has been really telling, is just like the money that's pouring into this campaign. I don't know, in the past, I haven't covered this race before, if there's been this amount of money circling through the district. And then one other thing I would add, I talked to a longtime organizer from the West Side, and she just mentioned that she wouldn't tell me who exactly, but she said the white candidates in the race don't really have the same types of connections to the communities, the majority Black communities on the West Side. So she feels that some of them are using campaign mailers and these political campaign commercials to make inroads in the community, and she's not seeing people hit the pavement, essentially.
I have only gotten texts and emails from the Freeman campaign. They won't stop flooding into my phone, whether I block the number or whatever. It's the only campaign mailers that consistently are popping up in my mailbox. And so, yeah, clearly a lot of money spent on the marketing side of things. Charles, I mean, so many districts are losing a longtime political voice, from the North Shore and Jan Schakowsky, from the Southwest side in Jesus Chuy Garcia, from downstate Illinois with Dick Durbin. I mean, were you shocked when Danny Davis decided to retire? And what do you think that really means for, again, this very expansive, though still majority Black district?
So for as long as I've been in Chicago, people have been waiting for Danny Davis to retire. Like that's all I have always been the conversation in the Black community. Like from a lot of the pessimistic folks who just are like want to see something change. Like, when's Danny Davis going to retire?
I don't want to say it's vultures circling the body or anything, but it's the last few races have definitely been like, when you gonna get up out of here, old man?
Yeah, definitely. And then it's like, and that's why you get so many candidates. Like, I mean, after 30 years of people waiting, for this man to leave office, you're going to get a plethora of candidates coming from all backgrounds, all shades of life, trying to vie for this powerful seat. And I know we're going to get into it later, but, the West Side is like fertile ground for a lot of political and economic activity. And then you have the fact that, like, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that Freeman is using a lot of mailers, and that might, in my opinion, that might hamper his campaign, especially like when you talk about the people on the West Side who have like put Danny Davis into office. Like, you need a ground game 100%. You need to have relationship and ties within the community, because Danny Davis is a person that would have like parades on the West Side, and he would have like back to school giveaways and free laptops for the kids, and like that type of community. He comes from that. And so like, I think anybody that's trying to like succeed him must have buy-in from a lot of old time traditional West Siders who can still organize people.
I just want to add to that point about him being people-centered. That's something that folks were telling me about him, that they liked about him, that he's accessible by phone. Even being in Congress, you can call him, he will call you and talk to you and listen to you. And they're really looking for someone that has that same type of, like you mentioned, community buy-in that's accessible to them.
100%.
Yeah, you're a pillar in your community whenever a Black person like get into some trouble or find a pothole, I'm gonna call Danny Davis. Like like a line, like, I'm gonna call Danny Davis. Like, people would say that often with like whatever problem they face, no matter if he's responsible for it politically or not. It just shows you the 30 years in the community ain't just by like him just skating. No, people are voting and in.
If you live in the 7th District like me, and you want to hear from the candidates, there will be a forum happening next week at Malcolm X College, and then on February 25th at the Warwick Allerton Hotel. I'll drop links for you in the show notes. Where can you find some of Chicago's best pianists while sipping a mimosa or Manhattan slushie on a Sunday afternoon? Would you be shocked if I told you it's inside a former 7-Eleven? Yes, the venue is called The Checkout and it's from Access Contemporary Music. The next concert is February 15th, featuring Natasha Stojanovska, who's played in some of the top classical venues in the world, but it will be her first time in a former 7-Eleven. And her program is going to be eclectic. I'm talking 19th century French music to new pieces from Chicago composers. And if you're thinking, Kobe, that sounds dope, but it also sounds hella expensive, well, you're lucky. Tickets are only $20. And on top of that, you can get 20% off when you use promo code PIANO. You can do it at thecheckout.org. Solo piano spotlight at the checkout. Beautiful music, unexpected vibes. And yes, they got the adult slushies. They took something from their predecessor. That's code PIANO at thecheckout.org. One thing Chicago gonna talk about is our architecture. I bet any single person listening right now could probably point out a fun fact about one of our historic buildings. You done probably took your people on the riverboat tour, or at the very least, you out here shaming other people's skyline because it's not ours. which is why it makes perfect sense that the Architecture and Design Film Festival has returned to the city for its 4th year at the Chicago Architecture Center. It's 10 films that explore architecture, design, creativity, and human connection. And we're not just talking about buildings. Themes range from graphic design to the architecture of NASA space shuttles to protected bike lanes. This year's festival is February 19th through the 22nd at the Siskel Film Center, and several of the screenings include discussions with the filmmakers who are flying in from all over the world. Find all the film trailers and ticketing information at architecture.org/filmfest. People are turning their attention to these big races where, 20 and 30-year politicians are retiring. There is so much more going on this ballot, and every single election season, Injustice Watch goes above and beyond to make sure we're not ignoring the back of the ballot, particularly when we start looking at those judicial candidates. Charles, can you talk about the importance and the kind of unique position Chicagoans and Illinoisans are in because we get to vote for our judges?
Yeah, we get to elect our circuit judges. Make no mistake, our circuit judges. Associate judges are appointed, but we get to elect our circuit judges, and that comes with great power because of all the things that the judges do decide, right? They decide who goes to prison, who keeps custody of kids, who keeps their driver's license. You have housing court, you have eviction court, you have criminal court. Judges are responsible for so many facets of our lives, and they make great and powerful decisions. And they're an elected official. And do you want to guess how much they make a year?
I'm gonna go 219,000.
258,000.
See, undershot that. Damn. I mean, that's Mayor of Chicago money.
Look,
it's not Dorval Carter CTA money.
Yeah, these are circuit judges. They make 258,000 a year, and so if we elect these positions, and so Injustice Watch takes the opportunity to dive deep into anybody running in these primaries who's trying to get elected as a judge. And we try to go down the ballot and research each candidate, provide a guide for the people, which will be out. And we're just happy to do that and do it routinely. This is the primary races. We also going to do retention races in the fall as well. Mm-hmm. When we're looking at judges, we look at their education background, campaign funding, their community background in terms of community work, what have they done. We send surveys to judges for them to fill out and answer questions, or surveys to candidates to fill out and answer questions. We look at controversial things that pop in the media about these judges. We look at decisions and overturns and reversals when we talk about retaining judges. So we try to get to the nitty gritty of everything, right? So is this person a lawyer? Was there, past jobs and occupations and whatnot? What are their community ties? Try to
who's recommended them in the sort of legal community?
Most definitely
endorsements
bar association recommendations, right? And we also just don't shy away from past controversies and whatnot. And so this is the second straight primary where about 57% of the races have only one candidate. Mm-hmm. It's the highest rate of uncontested races in the last 2 decades, which is just throw your hands up in the air for that. Fewer attorneys are running in these races, and not a single Republican filed to run for judge this year, which means, the Cook County Democratic Party kind of, got a lock on things.
Got a stranglehold over this.
Yeah, and I would like to say, once elected, most judges almost never lose retention or face discipline. So this makes the primaries matter, because once these people are elected into the position, they hold it for 6 years. And so it is important for us to research these judges and make sure people have all the information that they need to make the decision that they want to make.
Any other thing related to the primary y'all want to hit on?
Yeah. I want people to share our guide, just getting that out there. We're going to have print copies. If you want a print copy, please hit me up. But you can bring the print copy and your phone into the booth and use your guide as you go through your ballot. You can do that. And so, we just want this information accessible from the moment you're in your house to the moment you go into that booth and make your decisions.
A few weeks ago, Simeon High School and Bulls' youngest ever MVP, Derrick Rose, was getting celebrated inside the United Center with a jersey retirement celebration. All his former teammates there to give him his flowers. But now Rose and his team have set their sights on building a legacy outside and surrounding the UC. Charles, can you remind folks, what is the 1901 Project and why is Rose trying to get involved here?
So the 1901 Project, 1901 West Madison Street is the address for the United Center, right? And we have two great teams that play at the United Center, the Bulls and the Blackhawks. The Bulls are owned by the Reinsdorf family, and the Blackhawks are owned by I believe, the Wirtz's family, right? But both families have a $7 billion private development project they're entitling the 1901 Project. And so, like, shout out to Michael Liptrot at the Block Club Chicago. He just put out an article about this. You should go look it up and read it. But yeah, the 1901 Project is a redevelopment project on Chicago's west side, starting in 1901 West Madison, using the United Center as like this hub, this central piece. And they hope to build a 6,000-seat music hall, a 200 and something room hotel, retail space, and parking garages and green spaces. And yeah, in my opinion, once development comes, displacement is inevitable, pre-development and post-development. So we know the West Side to be a majority Black neighborhood. And as we talked about earlier, there's been so much divestment from the West Side, and people want to see a vitalization of their communities. And to me, if you take a very expansive view outward, it's like, wow, you see the ground was raised during the 60s, and now who comes back to build it up? And it's these billionaires who aren't of the community, so to speak, and they have this project and this plan. And my thing with this is, like, I'm not necessarily opposed to new development, but I would like to see like more communal buy-in or like consideration at the beginning of these conversations.
The 1901 Project, as well as the development for the Chicago Fire. What's interesting is the speed at which they've moved has been used to contrast to like the Bears movement. And so people will mostly focus on the speed as a positive thing, to be like, look, I mean, at least Chicago isn't completely gridlocked. We're able to move this project along. City Council has already approved the 6,000-seat music hall, the hotel, the retail space, the parking garage. The Chicago Fire, they're like, look, they've already approved the stadium. It's going to be privately funded. Both of them will be privately funded. And because of that, we completely neglect the conversation about, well, who did they talk to? Did they reach out to advocacy groups? Did they reach out to community members and neighbors, people who are going to have to live around this, people whose rent and mortgages are going to get pushed up because of this, who will have to deal with the property tax increases? I agree with you. These are projects that, specifically the 1901 Project, has moved so fast from announcement to mock-ups to city council that it pales in comparison to something like an Obama Center, where we went through years of delays and lawsuits and CBA discussions. It feels like there was no time for people to even kind of settle in to start having those talks by the time city council moved them forward.
100%. And you can see this with like any major billion-dollar invested development across Chicago. I know the Quantum facility on the South Side that's coming. That organization, what Southside Together is opposing, wants to talk more about like what this project will bring and the implications of having something that is okayed by the governor and mayor so fast tracked. And I think, when we talk about speed, it is the name of the game for development. Yep. But when we talk about community, in my opinion, like, no, you need to slow down and practice some care.
So what were your thoughts when Derrick Rose said he was taking 1901 Project sponsored classes to try and bring his team into potentially the second phase of development, which is estimated to break ground in the next couple of years and open by 2031? What was your response to seeing, what feels like a very natural fit, right? Bulls legend wants to invest in future of Bulls, but do you have concerns there?
Almost definitely. I think Yeah, it's Jay-Z and the Brooklyn Nets and the
Yep.
Barclays Center.
That's a perfect
And
example. I was gonna say it's Walter Burnett at the Cabrini Green meetings.
look, it's you have a cultural icon like Derrick Rose, who's pretty much Teflon in Chicago. They don't play about Derrick Rose in Chicago. I'm even scared to talk about Derrick Rose in this type of light in Chicago, right? Because of the buy-in, hometown hero, grew up here, was the best player on the Bulls besides Michael Jordan. Like to put on, they just retired his jersey this year, and so like the Reinsdorf has been like they've been praising Derrick Rose. He's been a star employee for that organization, and
despite them absolutely doing them dirty when they let him go, they try to make the rest of us forget that.
Exactly. They honor him this year, and it's just coincidentally he's also tied to their development project, and in my opinion, he's not like founding partner or like he doesn't have like this great stake in it. In fact, like the article I read is like he really can't disclose, his involvement all that much right now, but he's taking classes. He's taking construction classes. So all we really get is like Derrick Rose is saying this project is okay.
That's Derrick Rose endorses $1 billion project.
Right. And we're not talking about, okay, well, what does this mean for the residents around the United Center? What does this mean for Black folks on 290, right? What does this mean for poor people in Chicago? Derrick Rose isn't speaking to any of that. I haven't heard any word from the developers or the founders of this project speak to any of that. And so, like, again, that's why I think it's very imperative that communal voice is raised and heard about this issue, because it's needed.
No, and we can't. I think it does a disservice to not only the immediate community, but honestly, all of Black Chicago when we're having a conversation that can amount to Black exceptionalism sort of eclipses broader community conversations. We don't want a moment where it's like, look, our boy is up there. Black folks is being considered in this project, so everything is good. Like, D Rose gonna be in it. It ain't just the billionaires, but we know how this works. We know how this works when corporations and billionaires use community faces, use cultural faces to sell rapid development. I think the Jay-Z Brooklyn Nets example is a perfect example of what that looks like and how it can really quiet a lot of criticism until it's too late.
I think Jay-Z had at the time like a fraction of 1% of the Nets, yet his face was all you saw around that project because he's Brooklyn bred and he talks about Brooklyn everywhere. So Black Brooklynites, it was like they sticking to Jay-Z, all the while the Barclays is taking up all this space.
Look, if your heat has been running more than it should be, it could be because your windows aren't really doing what they're supposed to and they're letting the heat out and the cold in. Admittedly, I'm sitting in front of a draft right now myself and probably should take my own advice because the pros at Window Nation can help us get new, energy-efficient windows at a great price, especially because they're having a buy four, get four free deal right now. Plus, they're going to throw in an extra 10% off for Valentine's Day. What's more romantic than popping out with some new windows, right? That's on top of 0 down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. Replace your old drafty windows with high-quality custom ones from Window Nation. And don't wait. Schedule a fast, free estimate now at windownation.com. Every single episode of CityCast Chicago ends the exact same way, and that is with me asking you to bring your ass back here for the next episode and the next one and the next one. But before we do that, some good news. All right, Tonya, get in here. NBA All-Star Weekend is kicking off tonight. Unfortunately, the Bulls have 0 All-Stars for the 3rd year in a row, but Chicago won't be left completely out of the festivities.
Wow.
Yes, our Caleb will be participating in the celebrity 3-point contest at All-Star Weekend. And as you said, Bulls 0 All-Stars in years. Yeah, very sad, but also what do we expect? But on a brighter note, it has been very fun these last few months to watch the Bears and also watch how they have won over the hearts and minds of the NFL. I would argue we're kind of stepping into maybe a little, are we America's team or not? I don't know. But it's been cool to see the Bears be embraced in this way, because that is another franchise, as we all know, lifelong Chicagoans, that has been very sorry for a little bit. So it's really cool to see Caleb get this shine. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. And yeah, I think it's great that, as my colleague Rome kind of teased out in his article, Chicago, the Bears are cool. The Bears are cool right now. So other people are picking up on the wave, and we deserve the recognition.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate, you go from talking about like a hometown to somebody the land is embracing, because I did not have, I won't say high expectations for his playing career necessarily, but high expectations for how he would gel with the city, because Caleb is I'm only going to use generic in the sense of like you listen to him and you don't get a sense of like where he's from. Right? He played in California, Oklahoma. He originally from DC. Now he plopped down in the Midwest and Chicago. Right? We got high standards if we going to turn you into like a local hero. And so it's good to see that like that has translated in just his first 2 years. And I do think he in a good position to do somewhat well. Richard Jefferson is in the 3-point competition, and Jared McCain, who went from the Sixers to Oklahoma City in the last couple of weeks. But like, if you let Plaqueboy Max or Drewski or even Nigel Sylvester, I know he can ride a bike, but what he know about 3-point shooting? Like, if you let any of them do better than you, and your job is sort of accuracy with the ball, like we is gonna clown you though.
I think RJ gonna take that, but yeah, if he loses to Drewski,
yeah.
I'm not going to be happy at all. I don't want a viral moment of Drewski beating Caleb Williams.
I don't even think that's possible.
You say he won the hearts and minds of people. Like, what Caleb did to my heart this year is madness. Like, Cardiac Caleb, the last minute pull-offs, like.
No, I didn't actually think I had that much in my emotional reservoir for like any team in the city, like any single team. Like, I'm a cheer. I didn't think I was gonna be standing up in the house at the stadium just screaming my voice away. So
me either.
Miraculous.
Running around the house, going to a bar, watching a game, and not even realizing I was jumping with that last when they played the Rams. I'm so blown away. I would have never thought this would have been the season. So blown away. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never in my Bears fandom said with so much confidence, I'm certain we win in a Super Bowl at some point during this tenure. I'm certain. And I love how we took the opportunity to go from the NBA All-Star to just like back to showing love
Bears.
for the Bears. We was like, well, whatever. Let's talk about these Bears again.
Always.
All right. From NBA All-Star weekend to Valentine's Day weekend. Charles, what's your good news for us?
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day weekend. It falls on the 3-day weekend. And yeah, I'm excited because me and the Bay going to Milwaukee. I think that's, an underrated Valentine's like Chicago move because Milwaukee's like an hour and 30 drive. So it's a good like little road trip. And then
I'm going in April to see Men I Trust. And so, I understand.
Look, I got a little itinerary planned out. We doing brunch, visiting some Milwaukee museums. I got a reservation at Bryant's. If you've been to Milwaukee, you should know about Bryant's. Classy.
The art museum is gorgeous. I have been.
And I'm going to that. We seeing a movie there at Oriental Theater. They got a movie on Sun Ra playing. Going to see that. So it's like, it's going to be a romantic time. That's my good news. And I hope everyone else is like having a lovey-dovey Valentine's Day. Or at least, do something for somebody you love. Like, celebrate all facets of love. Platonic, romantic, all of it. Familial.
Galentine, homie time, Valentine, whoever you love in your life. But I've been to Milwaukee, and it is a great time. It
Yeah,
is.
I've decided I'm gonna embrace the Midwest. You know, I feel like Chicagoans don't embrace the Midwest. We be like, we on our own. It's just us in the field, you know, in the corner, backed up with our fist up, like everybody can get it, anybody. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be about love. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's a lot of cities on the lake up here. I be forgetting. Anytime somebody's like, "Oh, Chicago on the lake. Oh, I didn't know y'all had beaches like that." I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And then I show up in Cleveland, Detroit, and Milwaukee. And I'm like, "Oh, y'all got the whole beaches," and they do the same thing. So we gotta show love to the rest of the Midwest. Not all of it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a lot to enjoy out there.
100%.
They're all still Chicago juniors. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But they're
all little bros, all of them. Hey, if y'all got some amazing Valentine's Day weekend plans that y'all want to share with the rest of us, please reach out to us at 773-780-0246. I'm going to close us out today. Some good news is honestly a huge shout out to Purple Box Videos. There are a ton of platforms where you could basically watch people freestyling, performing verses, or performing their entire song to like a backdrop with a mic in front of them. But Purple Box has been doing some really creative things over the last few weeks. They just dropped a video with Bella Boz called Parable. And then next week, Achilles' Second City Sinners video is coming out. And again, it's not just those artists standing there, but they've thrown like some animation on them, telling the whole story in the video. And so when I see like Chicago's hip hop community in particular supporting one another, you know, passing out the shine, making sure everyone is lifted up. I don't know, that just makes me so happy, since the word is always like our artists don't collaborate. But the truth is they do. And they build events for one another. They build platforms with and for one another. And Purple Box Videos has put out some amazing content, even just over the last month and a half to start off the year. And so go back and check out Parable from Bella Boz, and get ready for Second City Sinners for Achilles coming out next week. I can't wait for this. It came out on Christmas, so I'm gonna still call it 2026. He has dropped my favorite Chicago album of 2026 so far with Villain Arc Episode 1. It's amazing, y'all. I suggest everybody go listen to it. Second City Sinners is one of my favorite tracks of the year so far. And so I will drop links in the show notes for you. Before we get out of here, I gotta thank our guests for making time today. From the tribe, Tonya Hill, it is always good to see you.
Thank you, Jacoby. Happy to be here.
And from Injustice Watch, Charles Preston, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, Jacoby.
Before we get out of here, I want to give a huge thank you to every single person who makes this newsletter and podcast day in and day out, including our executive producer, Simone Alicea. I see you. You're taking on a ton of extra responsibilities, and we appreciate you. Our producer, Michelle Navarro. You are one of the absolute best in the game. Thank you for being here with us. Our newsletter editor is Emmy Mack, and I want you to truly know you have brought so much to this entire team and production since you joined on. Our social media manager is Rick Homuth. Please go check out our Instagram and our TikTok. Between the scripts and the delivery and the ideas, Rick is doing his damn thing day in and day out. Post-production by Jesse Weiser. We appreciate you. Thank you. The music we all love is from Sam Thousand, All the Kimonos, and Mark Greenberg from the Mayfair Workshop. My last thank you, as it is every single episode, every single week, is for you, the people who make time for CityCast Chicago. Whether you listening, whether you're reading, just please do me a couple of favors. One, be back here bright and early on Tuesday. We are not going to have a podcast or a newsletter in your feed on Monday. And so please, if you got people in your life that you love and you're celebrating this weekend, maybe go on and give them the gift of CityCast Chicago. Yes, you can give people the gift of being a CityCast Chicago neighbor, where they're going to get ad-free listening, access to neighbors-only events, and every week we're going to send them some of our favorite things happening in the city. I think that's a perfect way to show love this weekend. We're going to be back bright and early on Tuesday. I'll talk to you then. Peace.